You're listening to the Time to Level Up podcast. I'm your host, business life coach Andrea Liebross. I help women in business commit to their own growth personally and professionally. Each week, I'll bring you strategies to help you think clearly, gain confidence, make your time productive, turn every obstacle into an opportunity, and finally overcome the overwhelm so that you can make money and manage life. Let's create a plan so you have a profitable business, successful career, and best of all, live with unapologetic ambition. Are you ready to drop the drama and figure out the how in order to reach your goals? You're in the right place. It's time to level up. Let's do this. Hello, my Time to Level Up listeners, and welcome back to the podcast. So today, I just wanted to start out by sharing what my client Sherry had to say about our deep dive VIP day, which we did a couple weeks ago. And I want to start out by sharing this with you because what we're going to talk about today when I really get into the podcast is creating a vision and having a vision as a tool to help you make decisions and manage your energy and manage your time. And I really could title today's podcast episode a whole host of things, and I'm not even sure what I'm going to decide in the end because I usually don't decide the title until my podcast producer edits it, and she comes back to me and she says, hey, here are 3 options for the title of this episode that I came up with. This is how it struck me when I was listening. What do you think? So I'm not sure what the title will be, but I probably can title this episode a whole bunch of things. But what inspired me to do today's episode was my conversation with Sherry, but also a conversation I had with a client last week about vision. And Sherry and I just did a deep dive session together, and you're going to hear from her in a couple podcasts from now. But here's what she said. She said, Andrea previously coached me through a really rough patch of both writer's block and a geographic move that wasn't working for my family. The frequent sessions were extremely helpful, and ultimately I was delighted with both the personal and professional progress she helped to seed. So nearly 2 years later, which is now, when I realized some of my old thought patterns and habits were creeping back in, I didn't hesitate to reach out to her. Andrea recommended a deep dive VIP day. I am so glad that she did. I could already tell by the time I'd worked my way through the pre-meeting questionnaire that there were several areas of both my work and personal life that needed addressing in a lot more detail than a single check-in session could possibly have provided. The half-day format was perfectly suited to doing that kind of work. I left my time with Andrea with a vision, with an actionable plan, with a lot more confidence in my ability to execute it and specific tactics to avoid getting stuck. It was exactly what I needed. I have incredibly supportive family and friends, as well as a vibrant, engaged professional network, but none of that could possibly substitute for Andrea and I taking the time to really dig in, figure out the vision, and problem solve with me. She was excellent at providing objective, thoughtful feedback and offering concrete, proven strategies based on her understanding of what will work for me. Her insights, informed by a long-term client relationship, were invaluable. Planning out my ambitious goals for the next year as it aligns with my vision could have felt overwhelming, but instead I am energized and excited. This was an ideal investment in my own growth. Okay, so what Sherry and I did that day was we eliminated what I want to call decision fatigue. Okay, so she was expending a lot of mental energy on trying to figure out what her next year, and we kind of were specifically talking the school year, was going to look like. And she is someone who I'm going to give her credit. She is someone who takes care of herself. I'm going to guess, gets enough sleep, because my first 2 things are always, hey, if you're feeling like overwhelmed and confused? Are you getting enough sleep? And are you fueling your body with the right foods? So yes. But the third thing is, how are you expending your mental energy? And do you need to conserve mental energy by making fewer decisions? Now, we all know that too many decisions can zap our mental energy. However, I'm all about statistics. We have 60,000 thoughts per day. I'm sure I've shared that statistic with you before. But did you know also that we make 35,000 decisions each day? And most of those decisions we're not even conscious of. This study by Cornell showed that we make 226 decisions on food alone. Okay, so what are these decisions about? When, where, with whom, how much, how many? Okay. Just think about when you're talking with your spouse about where you might want to go out to eat. That's probably 30 decisions right there. So when you are trying to grow both personally and professionally, a really big challenge is decision fatigue. And I've experienced some of this myself. What do we do about that? Well, one of the things I think we can do is to stop, literally stop. I know sounds crazy, but stop and try to analyze what we are envisioning our next year to be. And by doing that, we can cut out a lot of that decision fatigue. So I want to share with you some of the benefits of creating this vision, which Sherry and I did. So we created her vision. And then in this deep dive day, after we had created the vision, we worked and kind of doubled down on a plan, an actionable plan, and some specific tactics. But we started with the vision. Okay, now, here's the thing. Last week, one of my clients said, I brought up creating a vision. And I said, what is your vision? And she said to me, I don't have a vision. And I know this sounds horrible, but I just don't. And I know you've mentioned it before, but I don't have a vision. And I said, well, why do you think that is? And what she said is because I always know that I will probably be able to reach the goal. So she brought in that word goal when we were talking about vision, which kind of was red flag number one for me. But I always know that I will reach the goal and that I will just kind of blow by it and I'll just go on to the next thing. So is it really worth taking the time to have the vision? And what I realized is that she was thinking about vision as being something super specific, which it is and it isn't. So when I say vision, I want you to picture this as a painting on a wall. All right. Now, go back to your art history class. I took an art history class in college. I hope you did too. That was definitely one credit worthwhile. Go back to the art history class and picture those paintings by Monet. Okay. Now remember those Monets they were kind of fuzzy. They were a little bit fuzzy. And there's a one in particular that I remember, and I had it on a poster on my bedroom wall when I was growing up. I think it was from the Museum of Fine Art in Boston, the poster. So Monet had this one specific painting, The Garden. And the garden was kind of a lot of brush strokes. It was all color. There were no specific defined lines. But even when you looked at that painting, that piece of art, that garden, you could envision what it looked like. You could envision what it felt like. You could envision what you might be doing in it. Okay, so that Monet's garden is really just a vision. It is not specific. A vision is not a paint by number. Okay, remember the paint by numbers where you would put specific colors into specific boxes, like all the ones were blue and all the twos were red. A vision is not that. That's what my client was thinking about last week. She was thinking that this vision was going to be a specific paint by number. And I think, we all want that specific paint by number. But before we can get to the paint by number, which is more kind of, I would say, more of like an annual plan, you need to have this vision, okay, which is literally a picture on the wall. Another way I described it which I think might be helpful. Another analogy, I love analogies, is picture you planning a party. Okay. And it is going to be a birthday party, and it is going to be a summer birthday party, and it's going to be for an adult. Okay. Maybe it's a 50th birthday party. I tend to be going to a lot of those in the summer. Okay. For adults. So when you go into Party City, okay, so you drive over to Party City, you've got the date in mind, you know who the guest of honor is, you can picture it's going to be in July. When you walk into Party City, you have in your head a vision of the party. You don't know exactly what it's going to look like. You don't know exactly who's going to show up. You don't even know what exactly is going to be on the menu. You don't know the weather, okay? But you know it's not December. So you are not going to the Christmas aisle in Party City. You are not doing that. You're going to the aisle that has maybe bright colors, tropical colors. Maybe you're going to choose the yellow napkins. You're not going to choose the ones with snowflakes. And the reason you're not picking the snowflakes or choosing the snowflake napkins is because it doesn't align with your vision of the party. Okay? And you almost don't know what this party is going to turn out to be until it's happening. And then you know that when you're having a good time, it's feeling good. You can envision all that, but you don't know the specifics until it happens. So when I talk about creating a vision and having a vision help eliminate decision fatigue, it's just that you're not going to the Christmas aisle. Okay? You're just going to go to the aisle with the bright colored napkins. It is not, though, a paint by number either, with very specific things. It's somewhere in the middle. It's like Monet's garden. So what I've found with my clients is that creating this vision usually goes to the bottom of the list, because all of the day-to-day stuff, that's what takes up our time. And this vision creation project gets pushed to the bottom of the list. Okay, so when Sherry called me and said, hey, I'm kind of going back into some of my old thought patterns. I really want to figure out what my next year is going to look like. My kids are definitely getting more independent. She's an author, so she wanted to publish another book. They're finally all settled into their new house. There's no COVID. Okay. She knew, however, that she was not going to take a day in the summer to sit down and create her own vision. She needed someone to help guide her, to help brainstorm, to help picture it with her, because we see this vision as kind of being optional. Is it a need or a want? Is it a must-have, or what is it, a nice to have? I'm going to argue it's a must-have, but our brain can tell us, oh, it's just a nice to have. So when I said to Sherry, I think we need to create the vision and I'll help you, she was all in. How are you? I want you to ask yourself, do you want to have a vision? Okay. And how are you going to get there? Now, let's think about this. US presidents who have had visions, and I think they'd probably all argue they had visions, but some had visions that were more defined or more painted than others. Those are the ones that are effective. All effective leaders in the world have visions. And when a business fails or when an economy fails, most of the time it's because they don't have a vision. So here are 4 benefits of you having a vision. You ready? Here's the meat of this. A vision prepares you to meet your future. A vision prepares you to meet your future, because neither you nor your career or your business is static. There's always changes occurring. There are changes in our economy. There are changes in our family dynamics. There are changes in your health, right? And a way to stay on track, regardless of all of those external things, think COVID, is to have a vision. Now, your mission, people ask, what's the difference between mission and vision? Your mission may change, Okay, your day-to-day may change, but if you have a vision, you can really stay on track to create the future you're looking for, right? Who led us technology-wise into the future in the US? Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. They had visions. But without a vision, you are unprepared for all of these potential changes and disruptions that could occur. Okay. And the best way to prepare for the future is to not stay in passive action, but to move into active action, or massive action, as I like to call it. And when you have a vision, you can go in quickly and easily into that massive action versus staying in the passive. Okay, now your vision can change. And I often recommend that you have a vision that's probably 3 to 10 years out, because then it allows you to create those goals. So going back to my client who said, no, I don't want to create a vision because I'll just meet the goal. No, the vision isn't the goal. The goals are formed from the vision. But when you have a vision, you can easily adapt and change. And we do revisit this vision every year and make sure that we're still in agreement with it. But number one is the vision can help you meet your future. Okay, number two, you've probably heard me talk about turning obstacles into opportunities. And when you have a vision, it can help you identify the right opportunities, because it's going to keep you on track. And your opportunities, as you select what's an opportunity and what's not, you're going to have kind of a reference point and decide, does this opportunity align with my vision? Is it in the same, for having, if we have like a graph, is this opportunity along the continuum of my vision? Or is it an outlying dot on the graph, right? Now, a lot of us can get sidetracked or go after what I call the shiny objects or squirrels, right? How many of you have said, oh my gosh, I have shiny object syndrome, or I have ADHD, I just can't stay on track? But if you have a vision, it helps you stay aligned with what the right opportunities are. And those shiny objects and those squirrels are less frequent. So when someone comes up to you, and this happens to me, and they say, hey, for example, for me, they'd say, hey, Andrea, will you speak at X, Y, and Z event? I really have to check in with myself before I say yes. Does this event or does this audience align with my vision of who I want to serve in my coaching practice? Or when someone says, hey, will you collaborate on this with me? I can check in and say, hey, does this opportunity align with my vision of what I want to offer my clients? Right? So it's easy. It makes it super easy to identify what's a real opportunity versus what's just a good idea. What's a great idea versus a good idea? And it helps you measure and allows you to either say yes or no. It's really easy to say no to something. I've now done this when I say, hey, this just doesn't align with the direction my business is going in the next few years. It's not part of my vision. Makes it super easy. And it makes you more of an innovator, more of a creator and a future thinker than just a preserver of the past. So it helps you move in to creation with the right opportunities versus just staying stuck where you are. But as you see the opportunities, you're going to be able to identify this aligns with my vision or this doesn't. So number two, as a recap, is it helps you identify the right opportunities. It helps you turn those obstacles into opportunities that align with your vision. Third thing, here kind of comes what everyone's like, yeah, but okay, how do you make this vision a reality? What do you need to do? And I'm going to do another podcast on that. But your vision helps you focus. It sharpens your execution. Okay, so if you have a team, for example, and you say to me, and I've heard this, maybe even know if you're listening, I'm talking to you. Hey, I can't get my team to all be on board. It's really hard. It's really hard. Everybody needs to stay on board. I wish they were working harder. I wish they were all in. Okay. And coming up, or maybe we've already listened to it. Let's see. In episode number 35, one you just listened to last week, when I was talking to Maria Page, this is kind of what happened to them in their organization. We had to create a vision that allowed them to all sharpen their focus, or really truly focus. It made all of the execution, their day-to-day, purposeful. The vision gave them the thinking behind the action. So think back to my Eisenhower matrix that I sometimes refer to, where we are either doing, planning, delegating, or eliminating. If we're just stuck in that do box, if we're just acting, taking action, it's probably not propelling us forward because we haven't done thinking. There's no thinking in the doing. If we add thinking to the doing, which is more of a plan, the plan is going to align with our vision. Okay, so it makes things purposeful. And again, like Maria was talking about, they needed to be more productive, to be more efficient, to keep up with demands of business. But are you productive, or were they productive in the moving things forward, or were they just productive in a day-to-day? Before we worked together and created their vision, they were productive in just a day-to-day manner, not a moving forward manner. So vision helps you execute in a purposeful way. It sharpens your focus. And having a vision also energizes your team, because then they know their actions are meaningful. It keeps them energized and engaged. It gives meaning to Monday. It eliminates those Sunday night blues because everybody's aligned with the vision, wanting to move things forward. Okay, so number 4, the last piece, is a vision. It keeps you from quitting too soon. So last week, working with a client, we've only been working together for about a month, and we have been working on creating a vision for her business, and her business does involve employees. Okay, so she's got a team. And she said to me, Andrea, the work we've been doing, I totally see the benefit. I just don't necessarily see the value yet. So what I did is I brought her back to the vision. I brought her back to her vision of being able to go to her kids' soccer games and leave work at 3:30. I brought her back to the vision of not having to be on every job. I brought her back to the vision of having other people do all of the consults. I brought her back to the vision of her working on the parts of the business that she wants to work on. I brought her back to the vision of retiring her husband so that he doesn't have to travel. And once we went back to that vision, she saw how all the work we've been doing is worth it. And that maybe the benefit isn't in the present. Maybe the benefit is 60, 90, the year out. But right now, having that vision is making through the slogging through the mud worth it. It is helping you stick it out. When you have a vision, it keeps you from quitting. So when you see, as you start to work through visions and start to execute on the vision, sometimes right in the beginning, you're not feeling it. But having that vision, it gives you a reason to keep working, to make things better. And if you have this vision and you can express that passion to your team, they will get excited, right? The vision is exciting and it keeps the team again in line. So number 4 is vision keeps you from quitting too soon. Okay, here's my invitation. Here's my coach with me. Coach with me. Go to that future you. Go to that future you. What does she look like? What does she feel like? What is she doing? What is she thinking? What is your version of Monet's garden? That future garden. Go there. Start painting your picture, not your paint by number, but painting your landscape. Start walking those aisles of Party City and envisioning what you want your celebration to look like. If you can start to adopt this kind of visionary thinking into your personal and professional life, you are going to be so much better. You're going to feel better. You're going to feel energized. You're not going to want to quit anything. You're going to have a focus. This is kind of the secret sauce, my friends. Having a clear vision is the secret sauce. So, I am committed to helping you create a vision. Who is your coach? Who's going to coach you to create the vision? If you don't have a coach, I would be honored to be that coach, even just for a day, just for a deep dive VIP day. And this is the kind of day where we kind of are flinging paintbrushes across the room, where we are crafting who is going to be in that vision with you, who's going to be your board of directors, who's going to come alongside you. How do you want to feel? So I invite you to imagine, how different would things be for you? How different would things feel for you? How different would your results be if you weren't stuck in decision fatigue, if you weren't stressing about things, and if you gave yourself the tools or the vision so that following through would be easy? You wouldn't be resisting. Maybe you'd even be laughing about things. And you could be able to let yourself move through your days and your weeks and your year with purpose. So I hope you feel inspired and motivated and able to make the decision for yourself to invest in yourself so that you can create the result you want in your life on purpose and not have to rely on anyone else and not have to have the paint by number. And I invite you to reach out. And if you haven't done so already, let's chat. Let's see if a deep dive VIP day is exactly what you need, just like it was exactly what Sherry needs. And she has agreed to actually do one of these deep dive VIP days every quarter because it was that valuable to her. That vision that gave her such inspiration and excitement and energized her that she wants to keep doing it. So reach out, send me an email, Andrea@AndreaLiebross.com, and let's chat. Next time we talk, I am going to share with you more on this vision and how to actually do it. Okay, until next time, remember, it's always time for you to level up, to up your game, to create a vision and look into the future. Have a great week, my friends. See you soon. Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you're ready to commit to personal and professional growth, move forward, make money, and manage life, head to AndreaLiebross.com. That's AndreaLiebross.com to find out about the ways we can work together. Until next time, go level up.